Hello, my name's
Hello.
Bianca, and today we're joined by Luke, Jasmine, and Stephen.
Hello.
As you know,
Hi.
I lead the team here at the Yard, and every Tuesday, some of us get together and have a natter about things that are happening locally, nationally, and internationally. Luke, you can't see at all, so we found an old picture of him where he has less hair
Yep.
just now, but
Very flattering.
very flattering.
It's the best we could find, to be fair.
Steve's got a hat on, looking very swish. You can see the sun shining behind Jasmine, and for reasons unbeknown, because I'm up in the loft, sometimes you can see me clearly and sometimes it goes a bit shadowy. So apologies for that. However, welcome, and I hope everyone who's seeing this is well. How are you all? Luke, Jasmine, Steve, how are you doing?
All good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, good. Good, thank you very much.
Good.
So, what I do every week, just before we come on live, I say to people, what should we talk about? And what we've done is pulled a few ideas out of the hat. And we're going to start with Jasmine. Jazza, what should we start with this week?
Well, I thought what quite a sort of current topic at the moment would be about children, the return to school. I'd imagine there's been quite a lot of quite anxious and nervous parents over the past few days. I know, obviously, it differs from where where you live. I know some schools went back the back end of last week. Some were yesterday. But I imagine there's been quite, I imagine there's been some nervous and anxious parents and maybe some nervous and anxious children. I guess that's quite. I don't know, I'm guessing for a lot of people, they're going to be feeling it's going to take a while to get back into the swing of things, having some children missed almost 6 months of school. And I guess as well, we've got to remember that children aren't really going back to school as they knew it. So there's a lot of change and a lot of things for both parents and children, I'd imagine, to sort of get their heads around. That's what sort of I was sort of thinking. I don't know if someone mentioned to me that there's apparently some sort of safeguarding concern. I don't know about you guys if you've seen, but apparently on Facebook, when children go back to school, they always upload their sort of pictures of back to school. I think, I'd imagine this year, and I saw quite a lot, it was even more sort of prominent of all the children going back to school because it was such a big day because of what we've all just been through. I don't actually know what the safeguarding issue is. I don't know if any of you guys can sort of fill me in on that and what the problem people are seeing.
So, if there's like a logo or identifying mark of where your child goes to school on their uniform, then a paedophile or sexual predator can identify where your child will be at school, and then they can intercept them or follow them, stalk them, or kidnap them. Obviously that's like the really extreme end of it all, but that's the ins and outs of it, I think.
Right.
But also one of the issues is for young people who are maybe between the ages of like 8 and 12, where they're just maybe getting onto the internet and doing some things with less parental watching over. So you're not, when they're really little, you're next to them. Well, as they get a little bit older, you give them that time. But for some young people, you're then giving people access to stuff where people can then intercept online. Right. So I've seen you go to blah 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 school. Do you know what I mean? So it's a real concern. And one of the difficulties is because the internet is not real, is it? Do you mean people write things on the internet they wouldn't write in the real world? So do you mean
and what you wouldn't say to someone in the real world?
Yeah, I mean the level of online bullying, and I think sometimes we underestimate the predatory nature of some people, and so it's not necessarily that it's a huge safeguard, and it's just about making sure that we're keeping our children as safe as possible. So for those families who might want to take photos of their children, It might be that you just do it with their blazer off. It might be that you've got that school photo, but you haven't got the school emblem.
I have seen a lot of people when they put their photos up that the emblem or
Black it
whatever
out.
just blacked out.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'd imagine a lot of parents nowadays sort of use Facebook as a bit of a photo album.
Yeah.
As to where back in the day our parents would take pictures and then that would then get put into an album. We don't do that anymore. So I think, I'd imagine a lot of people use that as your sort of, when the kids are older, using that as a sort of photo album. But I guess, going forward, perhaps they need to start getting rid of the emblem and just being that little bit extra cautious that maybe they hadn't thought about before.
Well, there's so many paedophiles on the internet. It's just a wash with them, and they even get in now to like apps and stuff that kids play on like little games and stuff they play online, and they use them to I don't know, be a predator or something, and
Groom young people.
And as well,
Scary.
some of them know how to hack as well. So even like, you can get baby monitors with cameras on and stuff. Some of them even worked out how to like break into the monitor and like even talk to the children through the monitor.
So scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
And if you look, there's quite a lot of vigilante groups online that actually use the internet to hunt them, do the police job basically.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of them in Leicester.
There's a lot of them. The other thing that I think is really important when you're thinking about young people in terms of family context and the photos is that sometimes we share children's pictures on holiday, for example, so they're in their bikinis or they're in their swimming costumes or they're running naked as they're allowed to because you're on holiday or do you mean that's however. But when we share photos online, we might have it that only our friends can share or see. But sometimes when we tag our friends in it, because maybe their children are in your picture as well, you don't know how their security is. Yeah, so you have to be really careful because actually lots of people, their photos are public or their photos are anyone can see this, friend of a friend. Yeah, so
you can set it up so only you can see it as well. So if there's something that you want to like keep, because I use Facebook for a similar purpose, like I put photos on there, like use it as a photo album almost, because it's just you don't have to keep it then on a phone or something. It's quite simple, isn't it, just to put it up there and you can put them in their own little folders and stuff. But yeah, some photos that I just have just me to see.
So it's definitely worth that. And I think one of the things that we might do as a session on one of our teen toasts with Jasmine is around letting people know some of these dangers and how to keep it safe.
Well, the rule is though, nothing is safe on the internet. Nothing at all. Anything can be stolen.
But perhaps
if people can hack into a bank and steal your bank details, getting onto your Facebook is probably a lot easier than that.
Yeah.
Even if you've deleted photos off of Facebook, they're still there for people to access. There's still ways they can get it.
Still owns them as well.
Yeah, they can.
Maybe it's worth doing on one of the tea and toasts, not just making people aware of the dangers, but helping people with their Facebook settings and privacy. Because I think big problems are that maybe a lot of people don't know. So maybe that's something we could sort of delve into one morning and just sort of give people some help. Because I think quite a few of us, if you're not clued up, you have no idea where potentially these photos could be, like you say, a friend of a friend. And so I think that's definitely something I'd like to do on one of the tea and toast mornings.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sounds good.
Really important. Laurel's just joined us online. So hi, Laurel.
Hello.
Laurel, what they think about photos on Facebook. I know that Laurel will probably have a really good opinion on that. But again, one of the things that COVID has taught us is that we've all had to move online really quickly. So even people who didn't really like doing stuff online, it's been the only way to connect to people and staying safe. Because I was once on a Zoom meeting and it was hacked with lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of genitals.
Well, Zoom's a prime example, really, because before COVID, there was no real concern because of how kind of small the platform was. But when the COVID thing happened, it blew up, and obviously Zoom wasn't prepared for how big it was going to go.
Yeah.
And then it was easy for these hackers to exploit the gaps in their security.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's not what you want to see on a Sunday afternoon.
Or it is.
But yeah, it is. Very good. Laurel was just telling us that she hasn't got any new photos on Facebook, and I just said, well, that's a really good decision, and her Facebook is secure.
Brilliant.
And I like that because Laurel's
well
really
done, Laurel.
Yeah, Laurel's really good at all computer things, actually. Bit of a whiz kid, bit of a gamer, bit like you, Steve, knows the internet inside out. Not like Jasmine and I, who are a little bit fudging around the edge.
And Luke.
So yeah, maybe you too, Luke.
I don't have anything on Facebook.
No.
You don't have anything in many places now, do you?
No.
You're not even
No.
on Facebook sometimes. So we've had a little talk about that, and I'm really pleased that we're going to try and follow that up with a tea and toast, and that was brilliant. But we've got another conversation next. So, Steve, what were you thinking about chatting about this week?
E-scooters, yay or nay?
E-scooters.
Well, didn't we have the first death on an e-scooter over the past few days? That was our first one in the country.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't see that.
I saw it on the news, or saw it on somewhere, but apparently the first death in the UK when a lady came off an e-scooter.
What, in Northampton?
No, in somewhere in the UK. I'm not sure where.
Oh, well,
They go fast, don't they?
Yeah, I think they can go about 15 miles an hour. So you could probably go faster on a push bike, but people know how to ride push bikes. You know what I mean? And then there's no like training how to ride these scooters and that. And yeah, the infrastructure in Northampton's not really set up for it too much.
What's the minimum age you have to be to go on an e-scooter?
in
I think
Northampton,
16, isn't it?
no, it's 18 here.
Is
So
it?
but we've got a feedback that someone's saying that definitely no on any kind of scooter. So they are a no. So I've just got how come. So bless you. The reason why we're talking about scooter stays in Northampton, which is where the yard is physically based, they've actually brought in scooters using the company Voi.
It's a year trial.
So yeah, it's really exciting. But the opinion has been mixed. People have either really loving it or they're really angry with all of the scooter people of the world. So
What I like about them is if it's green, isn't it? Greener, like greener than riding a car, like driving a car or riding a motorbike. And they're quite convenient because you can just leave them anywhere pretty much. Like there's a lot of areas that you can leave them. But the negatives, I think, are expensive, dangerous, and we're not kind of ready for them, if you know what I mean.
We're not geared up
There's
for
not
it.
enough space. And
Are you supposed to ride them on the road, or are you
Yeah.
supposed to be on the pavement?
on the road.
And
There's
so what is... Sorry, go on. I was just going to say, so what's the setup in Northampton? Do you just go and hire one?
it's not like
Well,
that.
you-
You download the app.
It's
And
like you'll find them dotted around,
Yeah.
and then you have an app on your phone, and it's connected to your bank account, and then you like scan a code,
Okay.
and then it locks in that you've got this scooter, and then
Okay.
it will allow the scooter you to ride off on the scooter. And then there's areas where you can leave them, and then when you leave them, someone comes around in a van and picks them up, and they'll go and
Okay.
charge them, or they'll go and take them back to one of the like collection points.
Yeah. Oh,
You can
cool.
buy them as well. You can buy your own as well. From,
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
shops.
the thing is, like, you can buy your own, but it's illegal to ride them
Really?
on the roads and that. So you can buy your own, but you're not allowed to use it.
Why?
I don't know. They just haven't passed the legislation that allows them to be ridden on the road, like the private
But you
ones.
can ride these ones that you can hire.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
The ones that you can hire, the reason why you have to be 18 is around the insurance. So you're automatically insured. Yeah. They advise you to wear helmets, but you don't have to. You're not allowed to have 2 people on it. You have to be over 18 and it should be on the road.
And you're not allowed to be drunk.
Can't be drunk. But I also just got another feedback that said no one looks cool on a scooter. I think it's all about a trend at the moment. Just ride a bike or walk. That's their
Well, I did say the other day, didn't I? Like, why did they get rid of the bikes and they've replaced them with scooters? Because obviously a bike is better for people's health, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're actually using like exercise, where on a scooter you're just standing there.
Definitely. Strange.
When I went on the scooters in Madrid, I really, really liked it. But that's because we were going around a national park, and there's the person who's talking to us is from the US. So our transport is much poorer than most places in the world, actually. It's much more expensive and nothing's on time and it's a bit rubbish. But in terms of the actual scooters, then the problem is this. In Madrid, it was really useful because we never would have got round that park had we walked it. But in Northampton, there's no need to go on a scooter. Do you mean? But there is.
Northampton's not big enough.
It's not big enough, and we don't have the place on the road. So if the cyclists don't feel safe on the road, then scooters aren't going to.
But it would be cool though if like you got people taking them to work from like Northampton to Bratmills, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The other problem is that people have complained about is about where they've been dropped off. So lots of people who are in wheelchairs or disability scooters have really struggled because they've been just dropped. People just go, oh, it's run out now, leave. And it's been in the middle of the pavement. And obviously, if you're in a wheelchair or a disability scooter, you can't then just move the scooter out of the way.
Well,
So
there are areas. There is in the ones in Spain anyway. There's areas that you're not allowed to leave the scooters. It's like a red area, and if you leave the scooter there in the red area, I think you get charged like extra money.
Right.
I think that's the same here in Northampton, but that doesn't stop some of the problems. And this one lady I know, she went to go shopping and actually turned around because there was no way she could get to the shops because her route was blocked. And on disability, so she came home with no food, which is not okay. The other
Honestly, I'm just surprised they haven't been all stolen yet, to be honest.
The other issue is that there's a lot of young people under the age of 18 using them. And so people assume that under 18s don't have access to bank cards.
Yeah, well, it's all done through the phone, isn't it? So if a kid has their phone set up, which is linked to their card or whatever, they can just use it. There's no stopping them, I guess. I can't remember. I haven't used the one in Northampton. I can't remember whether they asked your age.
No, they did ask your age in Madrid, and they will ask your age here. But there's nothing stopping you from
lying.
Yeah. There's no
I've seen quite a few kids actually using them in Northampton.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in Northampton. I don't think the outlook at the beginning isn't great, but we'll see how long.
It's a novelty at the moment, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'll be able to tell in about 6 months when the novelty's like worn off a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do agree with the suggestion that people need to walk and ride their bikes more. But we do need to improve our cycling lanes and stuff in Northampton. That's not very good.
No.
I don't know whether anyone saw, but if you go down Rushmere Road,
they've
got these big luminous posts.
All the residents have complained.
Well, the bike riders have complained because actually it's reduced the cycling lane and it has improved safety. And for the amount of money that it cost, has it really?
Well, this is just it, isn't it? Like the council kind of has to create initiatives to encourage people to use these lanes and create better facilities for people that use bikes. Like, look what it's like in the Netherlands. Everyone's riding bikes because bikes have right of way on the road. There's bike motorways.
So the question now is, do you guys have specific bike lanes? And we do on some roads, don't we?
Yeah. Look on the edge of the road.
Not all of them, though.
No. And then you can get like, I don't know if they have them in England, but there is bike highways that you can get.
No, we don't have bike highways in England, but we do have bike lanes, but not necessarily on all of the roads. So
Like cycle paths and stuff.
yeah. So it's not actually very safe to ride bikes, which is unfortunate. So we've got a lot.
Okay, so thumbs up or thumbs down, everyone, for e-scooters.
I say thumbs down.
I'm giving a thumbs up. Luke,
I'm giving it undecided, a middle thumb.
Luke, what are you doing?
I actually think they're great. I like them. I think there should be some sort of like training thing around them before you can be allowed to ride one. I think if that was the case, I think they'd be a really good thing to have.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shall see. Watch this space, Northampton.
So
yeah, we'll check back in 6 months and see.
I want to remind you is that if you are a keen bike person, we're going to be getting some more bikes at the yard, and we're going to be organising some bike rides. So if you want to come and join us with that, and that's because we want you to get involved with the Critical Mass Bike Ride, which is the last Friday of every month. Now, obviously, they weren't able to do the last couple because of COVID, and that was a really difficult decision for them. But it was the right decision, because remember that more than 30 people gathering at the moment isn't allowed. However, what you can do is if you just want to practice your bike riding and you want to get a bit more confidence, then you can come and join myself or Luke and Stephen, and we're going to start doing a weekly or fortnightly bike ride. So watch that space.
There's a lot of people that they're not sure about how to actually ride on the road as well. That's why a lot of people stick to the pavement, because it's quite daunting going on the road.
It's scary.
If you're unsure about, how that all goes, come and join us and we can help you with that as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
So, Luke, this leads you into your topic now for your chit chat.
Yeah, so I mean, on Monday, there was a 15-year-old boy, and he was shot on his way to school in Suffolk. And it's kind of like, it's not really a one-off thing now, because you either hear on the news or you have a quick search and you see so many incidents where there's, not just young people getting shot, but people in general. But there's a big influx of young people I've found. I mean, there's an 11-year-old boy. There was a 2-year-old boy and his mum in May, just gone. And it's just kind of like, it's scary. Really scary. I suppose the question is, how does it stop? Because it's escalating. It ain't going the right way, and I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's scary.
But there's one.
A minute before, because I've just put the question like, how do we keep safe? Yeah. And one of the people who's watching us today thought, I can help you guys with that one from an officer's perspective. So I'm really interested in this, because this awesome human is from the US, and officers are quite controversial there. So please, do share your opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Natural way, and then we'll read it out. That'd be fab.
There's one time in like maybe 20 years ago or something, Luke, where a kid getting shot on the way to school would have been like news, like front page news. Everyone would have been like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Like a kid got shot. Yeah. And now it's normal, isn't it?
It's ridiculous how it's just normalized. How does it stop?
Where does it stop as well?
Yeah, where does it stop and how does it stop? When you've got 2-year-olds and the parents being shot, and 15-year-olds and all the ages in between that, it just makes no sense.
Something's broken, isn't it?
It just makes you wonder what sort of world are people, bringing up children in, and this is not a joke. This is real serious. It scares me.
On his way to school. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It is. It really is.
There's two things the starting point to reflect back on. One of them is that these things, whilst they are less rare than they were, they still are, and we still have some good gun laws in comparison to some other countries where having a gun is seen as an important thing to have in your household. Do you mean it's still not important here? And we don't believe but guns are the answer. However, if you were to strip back why people get involved in violence, what reasons can we think of?
Poverty.
Poverty, absolutely. Yeah, and it kind of begins with that, doesn't it?
But I think there's another thing as well, which is linked to it, and it's powerlessness. Because if you're in poverty, you feel powerlessness. But then if you have a gun in your hand, you know, that makes you feel powerful.
Yeah. I'm just going to read out. I think can you all see that as well on your screens?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
I've been on a lot of shooting scenes, seen a lot of bodies, especially kids and family members that don't need to die. It's all about the culture of how people grow up. The basis of creating a good generation is a dual parent household and after school programs for these kids.
Interesting.
That's a really it's a really interesting. Thank you for sharing that with us. Absolutely, people are dying unnecessarily. Do you mean we can all take that as read?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree, but parents aren't able to spend as much time with their children as maybe they would like. Why aren't they?
Well, it's just work, isn't it? People have to work too much now.
The cost of living's gone up, hasn't it?
And you think like in the 1970s or whatever, one parent, whether it was the mother or the father, usually the father, could support a family on just one wage. You couldn't be able to do that nowadays. No way.
No.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hopefully, with the COVID and the working from home thing, there might be a cultural shift where people do get to spend more time with their families.
And I think that would be one of the good things come out of the pandemic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be.
Yep.
What do you think, Luke? How do you think we can end this?
I don't know. I mean, there's a good point in what he says, you know, about having after school things and things like that. But it's not. It's, you know, it's a good step to take, but it's not going to.
But then we fall into the trap of a lot of the after school clubs you have to pay for. You know, a lot of, if you want your children to do activities and have these hobbies, they cost a lot of money. A lot of parents can't afford that. So then you're sort of back to square one. Well, how do we occupy these children that eventually turn into some sort of crime?
I think there's two issues. I want to pick up on that back in a minute. I just want to go back to this statement that says guns are great. If legislation bans guns, these criminals won't follow the law. So when they pull out a gun and you don't got one, that's a problem. Now, unfortunately, this is where we're probably going to disagree with each other. Doesn't mean that I don't think you're great, and I'm enjoying our conversation.
In England, guns are banned.
Yeah, in England, guns are banned. And for us as a youth organisation, I don't think that violence is the way to solve violence. Do you mean? So we have a slightly different approach to that. I also think, but one of the difficulties is that when you have a weapon, you have to be prepared to use it. So sometimes, even like when young people are carrying knives, they're more likely to be stabbed by their own knife. I mean, so that's the issue. Is that once you've got a weapon, you're up in the game a bit, aren't you?
Yeah.
But for me, the knife thing, you know, it's a question of safety. You know, kids are out there on the streets not feeling safe, so they're taking their safety into their own hands, and they think to do that they have to carry a knife. And that, to me, is a failure of society in creating an environment where children can go out, because they are children, aren't they? Can go outside without feeling afraid, without feeling like they need a knife on them to defend themselves. And with the after school clubs, over the last 10 years, the government have cut a lot of the community centres, the after school initiatives, which were helping, especially in like inner city communities. And there's just a clear lack of them now. And a lot of them are free.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we've got two things, but when people live in poverty, two things happen. Sometimes people get involved in crime because they want to have the same as other people. Sometimes people get involved in crime because they're trying to survive. The culture of gangs means that when your parents and family members aren't able to spend time with you, everyone is looking to belong. So people exploit young people because you're less likely to be picked up as a young person. Yeah, so
But it's the grooming, isn't it, as well? Because you got to think now, it's not like these kids are actually willingly choosing this. Some of them are being groomed into this culture through like tracksuits, fucking shoes, you know, like getting given stuff.
Things that they
And
probably could
then
never afford.
Exactly. And then feeling like they owe the people that have given them this. And then before they know it, they're in too deep. And we're talking about kids, you know, they're not going to be thinking rationally. They're going to be thinking, oh, wow, I've got new trainers.
Absolutely. And what our friend is saying here, I've arrested a 12-year-old with an AK because the gang members make them do hits because nothing in the system is going to happen to them.
So sad.
That is actually heartbreaking. But for me, the issue is, again, doesn't remain with that 12-year-old. It remains with the gang members. So the system is broke because this is about the exploitation of children rather than us criminalising children. So in England, we had a shift in our criminal justice system. So the difference for us in England is that we moved away. For example, we had a big child abuse scandal where in the early 80s and 90s, we were using language like young people were leaving their children's homes and going to have sex. Yeah, they were very promiscuous. Young people can't be promiscuous. They can't give consent. So therefore, that wasn't what was actually happening. What was actually happening is young people were being exploited and raped. Yes, so young people under the age of 16 cannot give consent. So therefore, if they're having sexual relationships, they're not sexually active, they are being abused. So we've shifted our narrative and our understanding about how we work with young people in the UK from criminalising young people who are being exploited by adults to supporting them to escape this behaviour. That doesn't mean that there are not consequences to criminal behaviour, but it means that we try and change stuff slightly. I'm going to just put the other two comments for this put because it's important. So he lives in the hood, and the biggest problem for society are parents. And absolutely, and I think that we've got lots of complex issues for parents. Some parents,
parents were kids too, and they grew up in an environment which affected them.
Yeah.
So it's like
it's a knock-on effect.
Exactly. So if the parents grew up in a broken community, in a broken society that didn't value them as people, what kind of grown-ups do they become?
That's it.
And this is going to happen now. So you've got like 12-year-olds out there killing people. What kind of kids are they going to have in the future? So it's like you need to break that cycle.
Definitely.
And the last comment, which I'm not going to put on the screen, was just saying that people who rape people should be raped themselves and shot. We don't, as an organisation, condone that, not because we don't understand how repulsive that act is, but because we believe in the criminal justice system, and that for us at Community Courtyard means that we believe that the sentences should be more proportionate.
Yeah, so look at the criminal justice system though. You get more for robbing a bank than you do for killing someone.
Absolutely. So, but that
you rape a child, you can get a couple of years and be out. Like, it's broken.
So the system is broken, but that doesn't mean that we believe in capital punishment, because we don't.
Of course. But so, the system needs reforming.
Absolutely. So we as an organisation believe that we want to challenge the system, but we don't believe in capital or corporal punishment, because actually, if that worked, then places that have capital punishment, and we can use America as an example, would have a reduction in crime. And actually, it doesn't. So we want to be very mindful that crime is a business at two levels. One is a business for criminals, but two, it's a business for capitalism. And we want to support people to not be part of either of those businesses. Cool. This is a great debate today. Thank you very much for joining in, COP 1375. I don't know the real name, but it's been really interesting to hear some of your views. So just going to put the last one for him. The criminal justice system has failed us over here. If you didn't murder someone in front of everyone, you'd get out of holding about an hour. It's sad. It's all about the broken windows theory. Absolutely. Completely agree. The criminal justice system is broken, not just in England, not just in Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, but across the world. we're seeing the fact that poor people are more likely to be incarcerated. Black people and people of colour are more likely to be incarcerated for crimes they didn't commit or disproportionate sentences. And then we're seeing that people who shouldn't be in prison, like Julian Assange, I can't pronounce his surname very well.
Assange.
Assange. Do you know what I mean? Media bloke.
Mhm.
What's his name?
Julian Assange. He was in the
Julian Assange, yeah.
Then you've got him who's been extradited. Do you mean you've got lots of other people who are whistleblowing and doing stuff? The
No
world,
justice, no peace.
absolutely no justice, no peace. Solidarity, Black Lives Matters, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's 25 past. So that means that we're going to end our Tuesday talk. It's been awesome having a conversation with you. Steve's doing the kind of how kind of strong moment there. Luke's waving at us, but we can't see him. But what we're going to do is, if you've got a conversation or a topic you'd like us to have a debate about, send us a message, and without a doubt, we'll natter away about it. Thank you to those people who've got involved online. That's been really awesome. And we'll see you all next week or in the week on different things. Take care.
Bye.